The fate of men is always in the hands of women. The Eldelizer are clear on that. Political marriages, love triangles, cycles of revenge for the wrongful deaths of matriarchs, these and more drove early Sibyllian history. No matter the power wielded, no matter the riches plundered, no matter how many lands were conquered, an entire clan could be felled at the behest of a single woman. Sometimes those women were warriors, but more often than not, they were seers, law speakers, matchmakers, or the wives of Jarlja who held domestic matters closer to heart. The Jarlja were advised even in those days to control their desires more primal, not for their own sake necessarily, but for that of their house. Sure, they might pine for a beautiful or talented woman with whom they saw their equal, and that could prove chivalrous and well-intentioned. But even those love stories often conflicted with the incessant pursuit of political or economic status, dowries to be reaped and exploited. More frequently, they devolved into jealousy and blood feuds. Either way, as love must be wholly requited to avoid damage, men were at its mercy. It was, and still is, an uncomfortable truth for men to admit, particularly the men of goodwill and pure heart who know it to be true. Sibyl's history is thus clear. After centuries of internecine warfare that brought us to the brink, we emerged a matriarchal society. The Jarlja became the Jarlja. There was a time when, even thoroughly defeated upon the blood and ashes of centuries, men answered Queen Aveline's call to build a more peaceful civilization. They came to tend share in droves. The men who laid down their swords reforged them into the plowshares that would provide for more than just their kin. Men trawled the fjords, cleared forests, and toiled over scarce lands to render them fertile. They built the foundations of our new cities. Their strength, their courage, and their devotion to the renewed cause of survival was equally key to our providence as the tact and diplomacy of the Jarlja, who reigned with compassion and charity for a millennium. When the Republicans of Meridia demanded dominion over our sacred moon, Sibyllian men once again took up their noble blades and pointed them starward, fearlessly striking down such brazen enemies of the throne. Heroes, all. And yet, as Astralish society transitioned to one of high technology and away from autarky, the strengths and merits of men under Aveline's promise were, in fact, ever less celebrated. Pneumatics did the heavy lifting. Rye cultivation and fishing were drastically simplified. Drones now comb the world for its vast deposits of transition metals, and machines do all the work molding titanium sponge and casting ingots. Some old cultural wounds fester too. Our word for king translates in other languages to queen's consort, a strange and disrespectful lexicon. I don't blame men for feeling listless. To them, it must feel like we no longer require their service to society. As smaller houses look to the skies, a high ground more accessible than ever, the women and men of Sibyl are increasingly at odds. But if I am considered variously both or neither, who will herald my path? The Eldelizer have little to say for me, or anyone else like myself. I've read them front to back nearly a dozen times. Am I not to exist in prose and song? Would a skald see the image of my soul and know that I am an elaborate lie to myself and the world? Am I even worthy of a guide through the wandering trace of my own ends? Or, and this feels like vanity, can I take the reins of my own fate?